Welcome to Small Biz Life, episode 54, Email List Basics.
Does this sound familiar?
Oh my God, I have so much to do today.
Don't forget to breathe.
But I have almost 400 emails in my inbox and 30 phone calls to make.
Have you looked into getting a virtual assistant yet?
Oh, and I need to schedule all my social media posts.
Did you drink anything today?
I had coffee.
Did you eat today?
Did I mention coffee's a bean?
This is Small Biz Life.
Hey guys, welcome to Small Biz Life. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for being with us again this week. If you're a new listener, my name is Kristen Ingram.
And I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And we are husband and wife small business owners. I am a CPA.
And I am an information technology analyst.
And we are small business owners who are walking this journey with you through what we call the small biz life.
Excellent.
Because we know that this is not a 9-to-5.
It is not something that you take lightly.
Right. And we know it's not a 9-to-5 because we normally record the show on the weekends. But we are very happy to be with you again this week. If you're listening to the show right now and you are not a subscriber yet, we'd love to have you, look at your screen real quick, hit that subscribe button. So that way you make sure that you get our content every week.
Yeah, it's really a time saver, which is a great thing to do whenever you can, so just take a few moments, go subscribe. It will be waiting for you in your venue of choice when you next listen.
Yeah, so on iTunes, it's subscribe. I know on Stitcher, it's actually you're favoriting the podcast.
I don't use Stitcher. I use Podcast Republic, which you subscribe as well. So
yeah, Podcast Republic is a subscribe. Google Play, you can hit subscribe. So wherever you're listening to us, just hit that subscribe button right now if you haven't already. And I just want to take a second to thank you guys so much. This is 1 year that we've been doing this podcast.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought we were married for longer than that. But, you mean the podcast?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the podcast is a year old. That was the September 15th.
Didn't forget the anniversary.
September 15th, 2015.
That was the 17th.
That's a different anniversary, and that's still the wrong date. So, all right. So to let you guys kind of know, Jeff and I, we got married on May 18th of 2001. But we intentionally went to Vegas and got married.
Yes.
So it wasn't like an elope thing. It was a planned thing. We went to Vegas.
Or planned elope.
I guess.
Yeah.
And we left on May 17th. So Jeff always jokes with me that we got married on the 17th, not the 18th. And it's been this reoccurring thing for the past 15 years.
Never gets old.
Oh, it does. It really does. So 1 year with the podcast. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yes.
So, and we would not have the energy to keep going if it weren't for you guys, especially those of you that are in our Facebook group.
Yes.
We feed off of the energy that you guys send our way.
Especially, we do a lot of stuff in our lives, and it's easy to record the podcast episode.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, a lot of times recording the show with you just kind of feels like we're hanging out.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about, it's funny because we actually talk about a lot of these things when we're not recording the podcast. So, just kind of sitting down, hitting the play button and having these conversations with you guys every week it's not work.
Yeah, no, it's not. And, in a way, like we like to say, we're going on this journey with you because, we're shifting the way our business side is working in real life, and we're trying to create something new, which is difficult, and it takes extra time because of the other responsibilities. So, one, we have a great joy in sharing what we've learned with other people and trying to put it in a way that we wish we would have heard it and listened to initially.
Right. And this is one of those topics, right? Because everybody says you need an email list.
Yes. And a lot of people have email sign up.
And that's the thing. And they're like, okay, you have to have an email list. And then they don't tell you what to do with it or how to grow it or, any
What
of those.
not to do with it.
What not to do with it. So, this is going to be a lot like the YouTube basics that we did. We're going to kind of talk about some things you need to do in the planning stages. We're going to talk about canned spam, which is the federal law that governs email lists. We're going to kind of talk about some of the best practices and kind of some things that we've run into along the way.
Yes.
Okay. So thanks so much for being here. Okay. So, everybody says you need to have an email list and people kind of, they jump up and they sign up with a service and
they put up one opt-in maybe on their website.
They have the one opt-in on the website and then they kind of don't know what to do with it after that. So if you already have an email list, I want you to go back and think about these things. If you haven't started one yet, having an email list is probably one of the most successful ways that we've grown our business.
And one of the things to keep in mind is no matter what you're doing on the internet, whether it's retail, whether it is content delivery, whatever you're doing, especially when you're a small business, you don't have a large voice. You're not going to be able to put out as much content as a large business that creates content in the same area you're in. They spend money to do this. You're either doing it on the side or additional free content to try and help get people into your ecosystem. So you really have to keep in mind that the reason you want an email list is because you can actually develop personalized relationships at a scalable level, which means there's one of you and many of other people that you're directly interacting with in one action. And through that, you can build things like trust. You can get those things that they talk about when you're trying to get sales called touches. You can have multiple touches with people on a certain topic to try and sell them something because it typically takes more than just a buy now button. Right,
exactly. So, and it's a great way to build relationships. Like Jeff said, because you get some incredible emails from people who join your list. I've gotten incredible emails from people that are on our list. And no matter which genre we've been in, when I was doing personal finance writing, people would send me these really long emails telling me their story and the debt that they were in and how they got there. And, and people would email me to let me know how their journey was going.
Yeah.
People that are on the Small Biz Life list have emailed me all about their businesses and their family. And it's amazing how much trust you can build with people by sharing your story with them, helping them to better themselves in whatever area you're working on. Even if it's something like helping people become better crafters, most of those people, they're crafting for other people, they're creating gifts for other people. And when you can make them feel better about those products that they're making, you're making a difference in their lives. Maybe you're making them laugh. Maybe you're making them healthier.
Yeah.
But that you become like a trusted advisor for those people.
And I think one of the mistakes we make oftentimes on the internet in general and in emails too is we look at our subscriber counts, we look at our weekly visitors, we look at all sorts of metrics. And when you're not really interacting in a personal way with people, there's a tendency to forget that these numbers are representing human activity normally. So keep that in mind when you're talking to the people. You're talking to a human being. Think of it like, you're talking to one specific person, because that's the way the email will be most successful when it comes to them. If it's like an email to them, even if you don't have their name in the subject, because they realize it's not really that, but you want the emails to feel that way because they're human beings you're dealing with and you're trying to build relationships with. So don't get trapped into, oh, my subscriber count's down or up. Think of it as, I have 30, 100, 1,000, 20,000 people I chat with every week.
It's interesting because Pat Flynn told this story at Podcast Movement. he was talking to somebody that was at the conference, and this person was thinking about stopping their podcast.
Yeah.
And he said, I've been podcasting for a year, and I'm getting, I don't really feel like I'm making an impact. Like, I just don't know that it's worth it. And Pat asked, well, how many downloads are you getting every episode? And he said, well, I'm getting about 200. And Pat was like, so do you realize that's 200 people who are tuning in to listen to you every week?
Yes.
And, that's the thing with an email list is like, if you've got, 100 people, 200 people that are on your email list, you get to talk to them every week and in a place where we're very protective of our email a lot of times, especially like the email box that we actually check.
Yeah, because you hate getting the emails.
Right.
Or the emails you don't want.
And that's the thing. And it's like kind of, as I'm going through, I'll kind of go through this fury where I'm trying to learn something. So I subscribe up to a whole bunch of email lists. And then, I kind of cull that down.
Yeah.
And so when I'm trying to determine who gets to stay in my email, it's the people that deliver value that I like, oh, it's an email from this person. I know I'm going to learn something if I open it.
You said you call down your list?
I cull my email list.
It's sort of a creepy word to use, but okay.
I'm cutting it down.
Yeah. No, I understand the word.
Okay.
A little scared now.
All right. So the first thing that I want you to think about, whether you're reevaluating your list or you're deciding to hop into this, is I want you to have a plan to monetize this list.
Yes. Because I think the temptation people fall into is, oh, it's easy. I can do it free through MailChimp. So this is a no-brainer. Which it is when I believe you have less than 500 subscribers.
It's MailChimp is 2,000 without automation. Yeah, I know, without the automation.
Oh, that's why we started to pay before we.
Yeah. So, but I mean, here's the thing though. So let's say that you get out there, you start publicizing your list, and let's say you get to a list of like 25,000 people. So that's going to cost you, depending on the service you have, approximately $150 a month.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a plan for how you're going to monetize this, it's going to cost you a lot of money out of pocket.
Yes.
So, and I've seen that happen to people where they've come out, real strong. They built up their list and then they went, oh crap, I'm spending all this money. What do I do now?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what makes them pull back. So, a couple things to think about. You cannot monetize your email list with Amazon.
No.
Amazon's terms of service say that you cannot use anything that is potentially offline.
Yeah.
And they consider email one of those venues.
And so I think an important thing too is if you have an affiliate relationship with different providers, make sure that it's okay with their terms of services if you plan to put them in email to try and sell them through an affiliate means in your email. Make sure it's actually okay with the people you are working with.
Right. And I found typically, like most of the companies that we work with through Commission Junction say that email is fine. Amazon is like the stickler with that.
Yeah.
They're the one that seems to really have an issue. I'm hoping that at some point they change this, but as of right now, they haven't. It's been like this for a really long time. So, you just got to kind of be careful that if you're talking about products and you want to provide links, you've got to get people back to your website and put the links on your website. You cannot have them in your email. The other thing that you've got to be careful with if you're thinking about doing affiliate stuff is that some services like MailChimp will actually blacklist affiliate websites.
Yeah.
So you have to be really careful because if you put a blacklisted link in your email, the delivery rates are going to go down. It's more likely that your provider is going to mark you as spam.
Yeah.
And you might wake up one day and not be able to send emails. So you've got to be super careful with that. So, at least have something in place. Have coaching packages. If you're a coach, have a book to give, to sell, have a course to sell, have products to sell. Make sure that you have some sort of plan in place for how you're going to monetize this.
And another key thing to keep in mind too is this is going to be probably ultimately your most important form of interacting with people. So as you're building out your website, even if you have one where you have signups, it should be one of the key things you're trying to get people to do. So beyond having to offer to try and get it there, if you have one email sign up in a sidebar, some people might never even notice it, especially it goes to their phone. The sidebar will push to the bottom. They'll get through your content. They won't see it. The more aggressively you push your list to be for people to join your list, the more likely you'll be to do it. I've seen some people who at any point on their website, you'll see like 5 different ways to join their email list. One of which being the potential pop-up. But in their sidebar above, below content, they'll really push it. And I'm not saying everyone should have 5 places at any point on a website that they could sign up for an email, but keep it cognizant that this really should be very important to you. Make it obvious and easy for people to join.
Right. So, when you're thinking about where you're going to put signups on your website, your sidebar is probably one of the worst places that you can have one, because a lot of people they've kind of tuned out sidebars unless they're looking for something specific. The top of your website, whether you use a bar at the very top or you have something in the the headline space of your homepage. A lot of people have found that it's very effective to put them at the bottom of a post. And you can create templates depending on who you use for your site builder. Like I know we use Thrive Themes. Thrive Themes allows you to set up a template.
Yeah.
So if you set up a template, you can have a box at the bottom of every blog post that will allow you to invite people to sign up.
I personally, I think that's one of the best places for it. And I don't do it, so I'm maybe kind of a hypocrite here. But for me, it's like I've gotten through the article the whole way. If I get all the way through the article and I'm still reading, I'm much more likely to go, this person has good content. I want to know more from them.
Yeah, and I think, and we said that we are learning as we go. And so, as we're kind of doing this research on things, we're looking at what can we do better? Yeah. Right.
And this is definitely an area we could both do better in.
Right. Another thing that you can do is you can do a pop-up. And it's funny because for all people say that they hate pop-ups.
And they'll be resistant to put them up on their site because they also hate pop-ups.
But they are still the most effective way to grow an email list. It's really funny.
I think the one trick to keep in mind here is the thing that's annoying is you're like, oh, finally the content I want. And then as soon as you find the content, it pops up. And that does annoy me too. But there are a couple easy things that you can do. And with most of the pop-up things you're using on WordPress, they have a way you can do it really well or okay. You can actually either have it time delayed so they get a certain amount of time before it pops up, or act on what they call exit intent, which means they start moving their mouse in a direction that will lead them towards a way to leave the page. And on those two things, you can set up a pop-up tab at that point so it doesn't come up right away. It's not quite as in your face. And like Kristen said, it is the single most effective place to put them.
Yeah, I really like the exit intent because I can ingest the content and then as I'm about to hit the back button or maybe go on another page of the site, that's when it pops up. And so you're giving value to people through your website before you ask them to sign up. I think the only time that you would use an instant pop-up is if you have a retail site and you have a coupon for signing up for the email list.
Yes. Like sign up now, the item you want, there's a coupon for it on our site. That would be very effective.
Right. And I think that those are super effective for retail sites.
Or typically too, another common place for an instant pop-up are your top bars, because usually those can be retracted away by the user. So those are often available immediately when you enter a site.
Right. So I think that's, that works okay.
And I think one thing that we did right on Small Biz Life was the way the site was built. If you go to the homepage at smallbizlife.com, you'll see that there's a place right there. This is what we do. Please sign up for our email right there. Just give them the ask right away. And it's probably not the most effective one we have, but one, it shows the importance of it to us. And it does. Some people will just sign up right away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, especially like if people are finding us, like they discover our podcast and they've never been to the site before, that's been a really effective way to get signups. Yeah. And, even if you're not like completely ready to go, if you're in like, the development stages and you want to start getting the word out, you can put up a very simple lead page that talks about what you're going to do and have an email sign up.
Let me reiterate that, because a lot of you are like, but what am I going to talk about? I'm not ready to talk yet. Kristen and I have subscribed to several, I don't even know how many people, for email lists, paid for courses through several people. The one common thing that, and some of them will even admit that they didn't realize it or do it themselves and they wish they did. But the one common thing you hear from every single person about online marketing is they wish as soon as they had the idea, they just put up a quick lead page with the way for people to start signing up. Because you're right. You don't have a free opt-in, or at least not right away. You don't have a lot of this stuff. So you're not going to get as many conversions, but you're going to get some. And there are people who just from that one little blurb of text or maybe that quick video that you put up there are so interested. They're ready to buy into you at that moment. Let them buy into you at that moment they can, because as you start leaking stuff out there, these people will help you make it better. They'll become big fans to help push your launch when you actually get ready to launch your new website or your new product.
Well, I mean, it's funny because when we were kind of toying with the idea of helping small business owners on a larger scale, we kind of had this thing that we wanted to help you get away from your desk. And so we bought breakawayfromyourdesk.com and we put a lead page on it. And basically the only thing it said is, that I'm a CPA with X number, 15 years of experience helping small business owners. I'm going to have a free newsletter for small business owners.
Yes.
And that's all it was. And it was a very simple lead page that I think we threw up in about 15 minutes, attached our email list to it. And I think within a week, we had gotten like 125 subscribers just from me kind of telling people about it. And so when we started Small Biz Life, I emailed all those people and said, hey, we're now, we're no longer Break Away From Your Desk. We're Small Biz Life. And if you want to keep getting the content, you're all set. If not, you can opt out.
Yeah.
Nobody opted out.
Yep.
And, we had this kind of list to start with as, we were creating the show.
And really too, it's like the problem is, especially if it's your first like real launch ever to try and make money or make a splash to get your name out there, you're going to feel let down because your idea isn't taking off as fast as it wants to. And a lot of it is because there's been no buzz build up, and you can build up buzz for free with at least these people. And maybe they're so bought in by the time you actually launch their product, they're the ones giving you the reviews on day one. Maybe they're beta reading your books for you, so you can share value with them that way. There are lots of things that you can do. You can just talk about the stress of, I don't know what I'm doing today. It's behind the scenes stuff that really makes you feel human to them. And that's a connection you can't beat. Once people consider you like a person they know, that's a lot of trust that you get from just that action of them thinking that you're real.
Right. Absolutely. So, let's talk about offering some value. So in order to entice people to sign up for your list, you're going to want to offer something of value. Now, that can be as simple as exclusive content. And that's how we built the list for Break Away From Your Desk is, I sent out exclusive content. I think it was like you got 5 emails on 5 things every small business should have now. And, that compelled, a bunch of people to sign up. So that works okay. You can do like a free PDF. You can give away like a free ebook. So if you have like an older book, you could give that away because you're trying to get people engaged to buy your next book. Maybe you have like a short ebook that you wrote on a topic that you're selling on Amazon for, 99 cents or $2.99. And you decide, hey, if you sign up for my email list, you can get it for free. You can do video courses or email courses. It doesn't have to be something that, would take the person 10 hours to consume. I've gotten some really great free stuff from people that took me, maybe 20 minutes to consume.
And there are a lot of ebooks that are written in today's world, or things they call white papers sometimes. And the whole idea is it's meant to be a free giveaway. And so it's not long. It's comprehensive about one specific small thing. And it gives good value, but it's not, it's not even like a 20 or 30,000 word book. It's really very short. Probably it's a long form article that's actually just formatted like a book.
Right. I mean, you could even do like a checklist on how to do something.
Yeah.
So.
Or, and this is once again too, the trick is you have to remember whenever you give away free offers to get email addresses, the one mistake not to make is don't give something that people would really want, and you might get a lot of great signups off of, like, say, I will give a $5,000 Amazon card. I guarantee you tomorrow I could do that, and I could get a lot of email subscribers. The problem being they're not necessarily my avatar. So you want to sort of hone it in so it's attracting your avatar as well. And with a lot of the content Kristen's talked about, it's natural because if you're giving away a free PDF, it's about the type of stuff that you do. But there are other types of things where you give products or services away as a lure to get people into your list as well too. If you do something like that where you're doing a giveaway to give away this big Amazon card, realize a lot of the leads you're bringing yourself are bad leads.
Right. So,
it'd be better to take the $5,000, spend it on ads to push your email list and not on a $5,000 Amazon card that people from all walks of life would be interested in getting.
Well, I would take the $5,000 and I'd probably give it to a ghostwriter to write a really good,
short book on something.
Ebook. Yeah, a short ebook for me based off of the stuff that we do.
But a lot of the free sign up stuff could even seem crazy. Like one of the giveaways that worked on World Builders Anvil was my free maps of a world. Mm-hmm. So I made up a world. I created maps, weather maps, altitude maps, moisture maps, all off of one fictional world. And it's one of the things I use to lure people into that list. And most people would go, why would I want that? But if you would say that, then you're not my avatar. And I don't care if you don't want it.
But your avatar was like, ooh.
Oh, maps.
Yeah. So, that's the thing. It's like really know who your avatar is and what will benefit them.
And because I guarantee you, even someone like me who would never use maps made by someone else, if you give me free maps, I just want to look at them and maybe play around with them for a little bit. And that might be all the value I get, but it would still be incentive for me to sign up for a list. So if any of you want me to sign up on your list, add free maps.
Or do something with graph paper.
Yes. Graph paper would be very good.
Yeah, that'll usually help.
A free graph paper giveaway.
Okay, so, so get your offer in place and you can kind of mix up your offer. So if you do one, and it starts to kind of lose traction, then come up with something else. A lot of times we look at our previous content to see what has really resonated with people, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, we'll develop something off of that.
If you have a great blog post, take it, flesh it out, add more references. Maybe you try and work in affiliates so you get some links back to affiliates through there. But do all that stuff and, but flesh out something, make it stronger and better then offer that as a giveaway. That's a great way to find what people are looking for.
Okay, so now that you've got this email list and people are expecting content from you, how do you give them that content? So, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can do an RSS feed of your blog, or your podcast or whatever you have, just so that you always, you're always reminding people that you're putting out new content.
Yes.
And so that's one thing that I actually just set up this week, because we changed email service providers, and I did not like how the RSS feed looked from the previous company we were using. So it was wicked easy. I think it took me like 10 minutes to set it up. I made it look exactly the way I wanted, and it made me happy.
Here's the pro tip for that one too. People typically think there's a blog feed for WordPress, which is true. WordPress, if you have categories set up on WordPress, you can also do a category feed. So you wouldn't necessarily even need to push all your content out through your newsletter. But you could either create like a newsletter category, or you could call it whatever you want to, and give the feed from that category to your RSS feed. So only those things are going out.
Right. So that's one thing. You can also do batch writing like once a month. So that way, you write 4 things that are going to go out to your email list, and you send one thing out weekly. You can, you can do video content, put up an unlisted video on YouTube and then embed it into your email. I do a lot of short content for my email list. So I do things like I remind them that their quarterly estimated taxes are due. I remind them of important tax dates, things that are changing in the law. And sometimes it's just kind of like I have a thought and I don't really want to do a full episode on it, but I want to share it with my list. So I'll write up, 300 words, 200 words and send it out.
Yeah. And like I said, and part of it is you're growing a relationship, a person-to-person relationship. So if it's slightly off topic occasionally where, you typically talk about, let's say, personal budgeting, and then you take a week to talk about, food. I want to talk about food this week. And you can talk about food. You probably try and tie it back in somehow to what you actually are about. But, you have the leeway to share a little bit more about yourself than you wouldn't necessarily do in a more formalized blog post or a podcast.
Right. So, we were kind of talking about this before we started recording, that how much should you email your list? And I really think one to 2 times a week is probably, unless you're like writing a post every day and people are signing up for your list to get reminders of those posts every day.
Yeah.
Most people are going to expect to hear from you once a week, maybe twice a week. If you're going to do anything more than that, like say you're doing a launch and you're going to be sending out a lot of content for that launch. And again, when you're doing that, there has to be valuable content going out in the emails, as well as your sales pitch. I would set up a separate opt-in for that and a separate list for that.
And actually, I have much more methodically built emails because you're ultimately trying to build them to follow the chain of content to the piece of content that will get them to purchase the thing that you're trying to sell.
Right. So, I mean, if you're going to do like a 2-week challenge for free or a 30-day challenge for free, set up a different list for that and ask your subscribers if they want this to sign up. Because if you just start sending that to your whole list, you're going to get unsubscribes.
Yeah.
Because people are not used to getting something like that from you. And that would turn a lot of people off.
Yes, I agree completely.
Okay, so one of the most important pieces of any email that you send out is going to be your call to action. Every single email you send out should have a call to action.
Here's Jeff's 2 quick pet peeves on email calls to action. And if you want a good example of this first one, go to one of my old episodes of World Builders Anvil and listen to the back end of my show. It's horrible for that. but it's this idea of, I have 40,000 things I want you to do, and I'm going to list them out for you at the end and tell you to go, subscribe here, like here, tweet this, do that, do this, do that.
Send us your firstborn child.
Send us your firstborn child.
Actually, don't do that.
Yes, please don't actually. But the thing is, don't overwhelm people with call to actions. You might have a minor one or two inside, like, oh, I'm interviewing so-and-so this week. Go check out their website. That might even become your major call to action. Or you might end out with a weaker call to action. Like I'll do in all of my emails is I'll say, hey, reply to this email and let me know what you think. Or I'll give some question at the end of the email. But only ever have one real call to action in an email. The more, even if you get too many minor ones in there, the more calls to actions you have, the less likely they are to do any of them.
Right. So you want to have one major call to action. And typically you want to do that at the end of the email.
And that's only pet peeve 1. Pet peeve 2, I dance around the call to action in about 54 paragraphs. And I'm really hoping that you might go and maybe if you're willing to purchase the thing that I need you to purchase to make your life better. If you have this thing that you're trying to sell people, whether it's an idea or a product for money, even it doesn't even have to be for money because you're really selling them on at least an idea, whether or not there's money involved. Have confidence that it's going to do what you say it's going to do for who you say it's going to do it for. And just be upfront and say, hey, this is a great thing I'm doing here. I'm doing a 30-day challenge, or I'm selling a course, or I'm selling yarn, or whatever I do. Go there and do this for me, for you. However you want to say it, be clear and actually ask the thing. Don't dance around it.
Right. And one tip, if you're doing something informational and then you want to do a call to action that might not be directly related to what you're talking about, one of the most effective ways to do a call to action is to do a PS after your signature. I've even found this in our emails that when there is a PS at the end, you will get a higher call to action response from that than if you embed it in the text.
Most definitely, yeah.
So, and your call to action can be, go to our website and read this article. It could be, subscribe to our podcast. If you're on our email list, the call to action that, went out in the last email was, we're trying to get on iHeartRadio. We need more subscribers. Can you please help us out? Make sure you subscribe to the show. And you'll notice we did that at the beginning of this episode as well, right? And full, let's be transparent. So, so that's like our big focus right now is getting people to subscribe to get on iHeartRadio. So, make sure that you always have one in there. Because essentially, if you always have a call to action in your email, what you're doing is you are training people to respond in a certain way, right? To click on this thing and go to my site, or click on Facebook and become a fan on Facebook. Whatever your call to action is, you're trying to train them to do something. Because when you send out an email to sell them something, they are they're already in the habit of clicking through your emails.
And along the lines with this, you have to understand one thing. You can never betray the people who subscribe to you in any form, but especially on your email list. If you have a call to action for them to do something, make sure that on the other side of that click, it's the thing.
Yes. Make sure it works.
Not only that, don't trick them. Don't try and be clever and say, well, it's really a lead page for, selling my book. But, there's something else there that there's a very minor part of the page about that will talk about this other thing that I'm just trying to trick people to go there. And it's really meant for something else. If you want them to do thing A for you, don't try and use B. It's like clickbait. Don't try and use B to get them to go through to it, because they'll be more mad at you if they actually are going along with you and you change up the rules mid-game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so be really clear on what you're trying to get them to do and what they're going to receive if they do it. One thing that and I see this all the time. It drives me crazy. Make sure there's a link to your website somewhere in your email. Typically when I do it, if there's a header picture in my email, it'll be in the header, and it's also below my signature, if I don't have any other links to the site. Most email service providers now will allow you to have a link to your Facebook, a link to your Twitter. You can put different social media links in there. Utilize those, to help you, help people find you elsewhere. So, always make sure there's a link. Always.
Yes.
Okay. And then we want to talk a little bit about CAN-SPAM of 2013. This is the federal regulation that regulates email.
Yes.
So, I think that it's kind of important for you to understand the basic regulations in here. And
this is not meant as legal advice.
That's right. This is not legal advice. This is information that's from the FCC website. And if this, there's something that you're really concerned about after, we kind of go through this list, I would talk to an attorney.
Yes.
Okay. But this is the information that we got from the FCC website on kind of the top things that you need to do as a business owner using an email an email list. You have to make sure that you have an accurate header. So you have to make sure that the reply to email is correct and that it's not misleading. So you can't make your email list look like it's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to use accurate headlines that are not misleading. Okay. So you can't have a subject that is completely unrelated to your email.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to be, and I know like a lot of people are playing with this now, and I'm kind of worried that if the FCC went after, was it Cheerios? Because it was saying it was heart healthy.
Well, the thing is, especially if you start talking about medical claims to stuff, if you're making a medical claim, from my understanding from reading a lot of these FCC fines that they put out on people, you have to have a clinical study to back up the fact that there is an actual medical benefit. Because that there is some anecdotal evidence, or maybe it's even convincing. I think Cheerios has a pretty good argument that it does do that, but they don't have the proper studies, the proper check boxes, the proper forms filled out for them to be able to do that.
Right. So, and you'll notice that kind of the heart healthy argument for Cheerios has gone away.
Yes.
Because they got fined by the FCC. So, we said, like, just be straight with your list. Like, whatever you're going to talk about, have that be your subject line. You need to identify things that are an ad message. So, and I know a lot of email folks are not doing this. There's not a lot of guidance on how you're supposed to do this, but you have to, if you're selling something, you have to tell people you're selling something.
I think it's sort of like, if you have affiliate links listed in your blog post, you're required to do a disclosure that they're an affiliate of yours. And I'd imagine it's just something along the lines, maybe buried at the bottom of the email, that just state that, hey, full disclosure, this is a product we're trying to sell you, or something like that.
Right.
Probably covered, but we actually don't even really know, because like you said, it's very vague.
Right. So we're going to be doing more research on that. I think people are going to start getting in trouble for this one. You have to have a valid address in your email.
And I know this is one a lot of marketers say that you should do, because it gives you authority that you're real, even if you're strictly online. And so Chris and I do that, but strictly because of this other advice, not because we knew this was part of CAN-SPAM. But I know a lot of people, when I go sign up, you get like these 000 addresses at somewhere, comma place or something like that, and from reading it, once again, we're not lawyers, but it sounds like you kind of have to be honest. Right.
You have to have, because essentially what this is that if you in some way violate, if somebody thinks your email is spam, if they try to get off your list and they can't, there has to be a way for them to contact you in writing.
Yes.
That there is an issue. And I know that there are a lot of people that are just kind of putting, any town, anywhere, USA, blah, blah, blah. You can't do that.
No.
That's not allowed. You can put a P.O. box. The FCC says that's okay.
And if you want to protect your home address and you work from home, that's understandable.
Right. So you can get a P.O. box. A very small P.O. box is probably going to cost you $25 to $30 a year.
Yeah.
You can go to like a UPS store, or another like mail service.
Or for those of you who have storefronts, it really should be your store.
Yeah, it should be your storefront. I use my address.
Mm-hmm.
We run our business from there. I have mail coming out of all the time. My CPA firm is listed at this address. So, go back to last week when we're talking about disaster preparedness and make sure that, you've got things locked down and that you've got, your home protected. But I don't know, maybe because I'm a public person,
Yeah, it doesn't bother me.
It doesn't really bother me. So, make sure you have a valid address. Because here's the thing. If you're found in violation of any of these things, if somebody reports you, okay, the fine is up to $16,000 per email.
Yeah, see.
And hold on, email is defined as per person that
recipient
receives it.
Yeah, you had me at 16,000, but adding the per email, wow.
Yeah. So, if you have 10 people on your email list, that's $160,000 in fines. If you have 100 people on your email list, that's up to $1.6 million in fines.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I think that they're going to find a small list for that? Probably not, because it says up to 16,000. So they have leeway. But it's to scare the bejesus out of you.
And
that's really...
It's effective for me.
Yeah.
But Jesus is like, he's hiding now.
Yeah. Jesus be a shield, right? So... from the FCC, apparently. So, this is like serious stuff. And, if you go out there, we've talked about trolls and everything before. If you piss somebody off and you're using, 123 Main Street in the town that you live in, the FCC, if they get a report, they can fine you for that.
Yep. It sounds like it.
Right. So, just be cautious. Mm-hmm. This is not something that's worth getting fined over.
Yep. And like I said, you can do a P.O. box. You go to UPS. UPS will allow you to a UPS store will allow you to use their actual street address. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted a street address looking thing, a UPS store is probably a little bit better solution. But you have to do this.
And here's the thing, it's going back to professionalism, right? So if I get on somebody's list and their address looks bogus, I'm not going to take them seriously. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, if you're not willing to put that out there, you're not willing to pay the $25 to get a P.O. box. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to take you as seriously.
And think about this too, it's like I have 123 anywhere street, main town, Rhode Island, as my address. And then I go, please click here to spend $2,000 to buy my course for you. Oh yeah, I'm not fly by night at all. Would you think that's maybe a fly by night, maybe tactic?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially if, there's no way to kind of write this person when you've got grievances. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, just kind of think about that from both of those perspectives. You have to make sure that you make it easy for people to opt out. They either need to be able to reply to the email or go to a website and opt out.
Yes.
And this is kind of interesting. So you have to honor opt-outs quickly, and the FCC defines that as within 10 business days. So it's kind of funny because I think that's where you get, as I always wondered, sometimes when you, especially like big companies, when you opt out of their email list, it says it will take 7 to 10 days to get off the list.
One comes to mind specifically.
So, and I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like, why is it 7 to 10 days? And that's because that's what the FCC tells them they have. So, And I think, this last one is really important. Okay. Because I know, sometimes we talk about outsourcing things out to other people. You are ultimately responsible for the emails that go out through your account. Even if you outsource that to someone else. So if you hire somebody to write your emails for you, you need to make sure that you're monitoring what's going out, because you are ultimately liable for those penalties if you violate any of these.
And ultimately, if you're relying on a third party for most anything, you're going to be held accountable for things done in your name. So if I hire, like, say, a marketing company who takes over my Facebook profile to do a big marketing push for a thing I'm coming up to do, that might be fine. But, they could get me banned from Facebook.
Right.
They might go about in such an aggressive way. Facebook considers me spam and bans me forever or for a period of time.
Right. Exactly. So those are the things you need to know about canned spam. Always make sure that you have somebody's permission before you put them on your list. And most service providers, they're going to ask you, do you have this person's permission? If you're putting people on your email list and you're checking that box and then people start marking you as spam because they did not sign up for your list, you're toast. Okay. You're going to get your email list shut down. So make sure you always have permission to add people to your list. Be very clear. Like if you're collecting names at a conference, make sure that's very clear that you're signing up for the newsletter list or the email list or whatever.
If they're signing up for a prize on your site, ensure that they understand that by giving you this information, they will be added to your email list and they'll be eligible for the prize.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So, I hope that you found this helpful. Don't stress out about your email list, but make sure that you're consistent. And this is something I'm terrible at, which is why I set up the RSS feed finally. Because things happen, right? And we get really busy. And that's why I recommend, batching to your email list. You don't have to send out 1,200 word emails. In fact, I'd recommend that you don't send out 1,200 word emails.
If you have that many words to put, make it a thing on your website so you can get better SEO.
Right, exactly. Okay, so, tips are really great. I know some people, they send out like memes in their email list and then they'll bump it into Edgar, so it goes into rotation.
And don't stress out about making these really fancy looking ones, because there was one you saw 5 years ago that was really well laid out. You thought it was awesome. The most effective emails look like emails. They look like notes to people.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I was reading an article a couple months ago that said that if you send out plain text emails, they actually have a much better landing rate in the inbox than these fancy newsletters do.
Well, that too. And I also know just from personal experience that people with low vision a lot of times have the HTML turned off in their email box because they struggle a lot of times with them. And so they get total gobbledygook. If it's fancy, there's HTML in there and it will make it impossible to read for someone who has low vision using the special software that will read it to them.
Right. So, this doesn't have to be complicated. Have fun with it. I think, I send out more things, I think, about like how I'm feeling about things and kind of experiences I have through my email list than I share anywhere else.
Yeah. And really think about it as your way to communicate with a friend who has a similar interest.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So, if you have any questions about this, you can go off to our Facebook group, which is facebook.com/group/smallbizlife. And, I mentioned a little bit earlier that we're trying to get more subscribers so that we can get onto iHeartRadio, because I think that would be a huge platform for us. I know when we joined Google Play, that really helped a lot of new people find us.
Yes.
So, our big call to action, ding, ding, ding. See, here we go. Find 2 people this week that you think would like the show.
Yeah.
And tell them about the show. And if they don't listen to podcasts, show them how they can listen. Open up iTunes for them, or, help them download Stitcher or Podcast Republic, and show them like, hey, this is how you listen to a podcast. Yep. Because, it's not just our show. There are so many awesome podcasts out there. And it's funny because we just switched cell phone providers. We switched to T-Mobile because they have the unlimited streaming.
Yes.
Because we consume so much content. And so, being able to go to YouTube or listen to podcasts without using up our data
is awesome.
That's what made us switch.
Yeah.
So, I'd really encourage you, find 2 people this week, tell them about our podcast, show them how to listen to podcasts in general, and kind of show them like the world that's out there. Because I think it's, there's a small percentage of people right now that listen to podcasts, but there's so much amazing free content out there, so we would really appreciate it. We're making this big push as we're hitting our 1-year anniversary. And yay. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
This was Small Biz Life.